Hey everybody, welcome to the Utterly Pointless channel. I haven't been feeling that good today, so I'm just gonna keep today's video short and sweet. There's a boss that some of you may have run into, some possibly not, named Lloyd, Loid, and he's the boss of all the maniacs. And he, whenever you hit him in certain spots on his body, will hit you back with many times that amount of damage, often with damage based on the number of debuffs that you have or what one of his stats are. So let me see if I can pull that up on the codex here. But he's a nasty boss anyway. Very reactive. So, alright, so the body outright deals damage to enemies based on number of debuffs, and then after the body's damaged, it will damage the enemy equal to 30% of the body's highest stat. When the hands when the hands take damage, their boils burst, so the enemy takes 30% of the hand's highest stat. And then head of Lloyd, that's just a figurehead, so to speak, not as much of a threat really as you might think. And then the shoulders just debuff enemies, so the shoulder, or head and shoulders rather, wind up being some pretty attackable targets. But when I was going through with one of my Gonzo builds where I had chances to attack built into every single spell gem, it was a clown show. I will describe it as politely as that, but oh my goodness, I had mass damage spells going off, and it was brutal. I mean, I was causing my own demise time after time after time, to the point even with groups like my Shadowbringer, which will deal 150% of health to anything with Blight on it at random each turn. It just was too much to deal with, so it was all of our spell gems again, just causing complete problems. So I thought, maybe I should build a custom Lloyd group that even has spell gems all set up in that way. So I'm just going to go through a quick formula that I use to get every creature up and running in good shape. Some you may have to take out of your stable, so they may be a little bit lower in level than the current level. So always, when you take a creature out, just make sure that it can be leveled up more, and that takes 3,000 power. So if you have to convert over some other resources, and then go out on a couple of resource gathering runs, so that way if you have to, you can level up your new team members and so on until you're ready to go. So that's the first part of it, and then I'll show you what the Polygala Fae, for example, is done to in order to I'll show you what is done with the Polygala Fae in order to get it up and running with the rest of your team. So there's health as a top stat, so we'll go ahead and use a field item to get just defense up, and then fairies are, who knows, half of them are dumb, I guess, I don't know. But let's see. Well, with Vulcanar helping you out, and again, you might just have this single creature in your stable, or rather in your group, So you might not even have anything to make considerations about regarding your stats, but just give it your best guess as to how you'll be how you'll be doing damage to the boss anyway. So what I'll do is use health up, or rather defense up, and intelligence down. So that way, let's see where it is. Yep. All right. So that way you just have a good base for your stats, and in this way you'll be able to take a little bit more damage against Lloyd when his stuff bursts by accident or design. So that part is all set, and then once you get out of the field items menu, go back to the creature menu, go ahead and get a good artifact. This is Hell's Protection, and what that does is, excuse me, I'm sorry, this is the Improbable Catapult. This is the one reason to me that the Fae exists, and that is to launch its horrible trait. I mean, it's not so bad if you have some start of turn and end of turn effects, but honestly, there are none with this one. It's just designed to launch a massive stat penalty across the board and give six enemies 95% fewer stats. So that's all the artifact is dedicated to, except for some defense and damage reduction and dodging. So hopefully it can let this phase survive a little bit longer. And as you also see, there's Clayman built in, so that will hopefully be able to get some preemptive health building. There needs to be healing that matches Clayman. You can get maximum health up all day, but you have to quickly get some heals in order to make it momentarily worth it. Otherwise, your creatures will get killed and their maximum health will be lost. So next up is the relic, and with the phase stats being so low, I got a relic that would increase the amount of damage with attacks done, and also it would increase any stats gained, and also eventually at level 40 grant 3% more attack for each time that this creature and the relic have attacked in the current battle. So this is built to overcome the really low attack that this usually does. So Volcanar, the avatar right next to him, is very good countering for such low offense due to 95% lower stats. So after the relic, we got spell gems, and the thing is with the hands and the body being so reactive when you hit them, you don't want to have multiple attacks going toward any of them unless you really intend to. Such as with Volcanar, he's got the Thousand Needles relic that just keeps on wailing on one target, and I believe possibly at random, according to what the relic says. But again, I'm just focusing on this Fae here to give you a quick overview of what to do with each creature. So next part is make sure that your spell gems do fit in. So with this, I made sure that there were no chances to attack at random. So I took those actually off these. I did have them enchanted in, so it's not that I had a chance to avoid it. I had to just modify what I actually did have put in. So again, not a choice of building stuff, but modifying what you already got. So And as you can see, there is a chance to cast Infernal Charge after attacking, so wait a minute. Oh man, it is a random enemy, so it's not the same. So let's see. Yeah, so sometimes you need a fresh set of eyes, even your own. So all right, yeah, there we go. Okay, so it's not a chance to attack, a chance to cast after attacking. So again, even if you are trying to get one of these targets down, casting this will cause a random uh, body part to be attacked, and that may be one of the ones that you don't want to hit yet. So we'll go ahead and put those disenchantments in. I didn't save it last time. I started getting sick again, so apologies for that. So what I'm going to do is just change that into a chance to defend instead. So there, and that's all set. So with everything all the way down to spell gems, there's item sets you can fuss with, and then there's the strategy. At this point, Lloyd is such volatile, again reactive kind of a boss. I don't really want to put any kind of macros in yet unless they're really well thought out. You can do that by just attacking body part 1, body part 2, body part 3, for example. And if you put that something has a buff on it before attacking, that's a good way to deal with the more reactive parts of the body. For example, if something has shelled, you can put that in the macro, so you can say, hey, if this creature, if this ally here, or if any ally has shelled, go ahead and attack that body part. Things like that. Macros wind up being very, very flexible in what you need to do, and I've got some combined very well in my Shadowbringer group. So that is that for everything down to the macros. So just a good way of taking an audit of existing creatures, or creating new ones, and making sure that you're doing a good job. So the other team member that I got here, technically the second because I started out with the Fae, was Vulcanar, and Vulcanar has a really, really good trait for balancing out the Fae's poor attack stats and so on. So that is Fire Lord. When your enemies attack, they deal 20% more damage for each time they've attacked in the current battle. Just a phenomenal thing to have. And I've got 1,000 needles. So let me just double check about whether the relic attacks or not. Let's see. Attacks at random, so. All right. So yeah, there might be times that after an enemy gets killed, like a body part gets killed, this relic and the bearer may wind up causing additional hits to go on a body part that you may not be prepared for. So what you can do is use a macro to evaluate where your team is, for example. So let me just create a quick one here, and as you can see, ridiculous amount of macros. Thank you so much, Thylacine Studios. So I'll just go to this one right here and add a line. So if you want to create something really flexible, so let's say you only want to attack if all of your allies, you know, have, like, let's say barrier, or let's say even shelled or rebirth. I mean, if you're really, really defensive about things, you can only attack or have your team attack only if you have rebirth, for example, and then you can have them attack. Um, well, I guess a random ally, a random enemy rather. So, and so yeah, it's a little tricky to word sometimes. There are some situations where you have double conditions that you're thinking about, and it's like you just can't. So this is where you have to split things up. For example, with let's say if all your allies have rebirth, for example, just go ahead and attack any body part of Lloyd, and then if any ally has more than let's say more than 4 dead allies, cast Desperate Sacrifice, and then that will try to resurrect everything as long as the spell doesn't fizzle. It still may, so there you go. And then let's say if you want to have your team attack without any kind of buffs, let's see. The way to word it would be, let me just double check. All right. So yeah, we can put that. You know, if all allies, for example, actually, let me just get a different condition here. So if any ally has the highest attack, we'll say, then, oops, let me see. So yeah, forgive me. So let's say the head of Lloyd would be spot 2. So if I'm trying to find is not dead, but we'll just put it as. This is where macros do get a little tricky. So, if enemy 2 has more than 0% health, so if enemy 2 is alive, for example, this will prioritize it over anything else. Just go ahead and attack that creature, body part 2. So. And then that's it. You can prioritize things. So if you want to have everybody attack that head first before considering casting Desperate Sacrifice, that you're more desperate really to attack the head versus resurrecting your team, then by all means put this line here at the top. Otherwise, if you're more focused on getting Desperate Sacrifice cast and getting a foothold established, then go ahead and put it this way, and then you can do things like that. So there are some general basically almost no conditions, and that would be where if this creature is on the top of the timeline, is highest on timeline. You can have them attack, defend, or provoke, or cast something. So there you go. So that's it. Very quick, relatively checklist here for your team, and then as you add more team members, just check and see how they can react and help each other. Check to see that spell gems aren't being repeated. Using generous is a big help to give each of your team an ethereal gem, just in case it's needed, for example. And don't put magnetic on a single spell gem that you are only using one of. So just make sure that things are maximized, and you can battle test things. You can see where things work or don't by using the battle history. So any questions or comments, feel free to leave them, and I hope you enjoy team building. I'm going to go ahead and get my team together and present it shortly. Thanks.